With 2 league games to go, Rovers' Sky Bet League One status is hanging by a thread after an Easter weekend that brought about just 1 point. The 3-3 draw at Shrewsbury was spectacular and kept Gary McSheffrey's side just about alive for a few more days at least. They need the mother of all comebacks to survive, but in football you just never know what may happen. It's the final home game of the season as Rovers take on Burton Albion. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Eco Power Stadium for the final edition of the Inside Rovers pre-match show this season. Rovers taking on Burton Albion in Sky Bet League One this weekend. Joining me to look ahead to that one, Club Doncaster media manager Liam Hoden. Liam, it's been one heck of a ride this season, a very challenging campaign to say the least.
It certainly has. You know, obviously you want results to go your way on the pitch, but I suppose it's given us plenty to talk about on here.
Final one of the season, and let's take a look at what's coming up on the show tonight. We watched the highlights from the 3-3 draw at Shrewsbury. We hear from Rovers' new head of football operations. And we look back on some of the outtakes from the show this season. A bumper show coming up then. Let's get straight into it with a game of 2 halves on Easter Monday. Liam, I called it a game of 2 halves there, and that's exactly what it was. At 3-0 down at half-time, Rovers looked pretty much dead and buried, didn't they? But somehow, from half-time onwards, they found a way back, and Kyle Noel pops up with his first Rovers goal right at the death. Yeah,
an incredible afternoon, really. I think had it not been in the circumstances that it had been in Rovers' season, would have been looking back on that one as one of the most memorable afternoon of the campaign. You know, a very, very poor first half, as you touched upon, and Rovers not really looking at it at all, and some poor mistakes among there. But the response in the second half, you know, a little bit of a change of system, a couple of changes of personnel along the way as well, and fantastic response from Rovers, you know. And I think had they got that second goal a little bit earlier, they could have easily had time to go on and win that game, obviously getting the equaliser in the dying moments. But fantastic to see both strikers getting on the score sheet, fantastic to see Kyle Noel finally breaking his duck for Rovers as well. So as I say, a little bit deflating given what the result meant overall, but a good 45 minutes. And I know Adam Clayton's touched upon it in his pre-match press, and what that the character shown in that second half, what that does and what that tells him about some of his teammates heading into next season. And I think it's an important point to pick up on.
Yeah, that first half in particular, Rovers just not at the races, and Shrewsbury, who aren't spectacular, but they do the basics very well. The two front men were running into channels, and all three really balls into the box that Rovers simply couldn't deal with. I mean, Udo and Bowman, almost 30 goals between them, and you can see why.
Yeah, you certainly can. They did look good at Shrewsbury, certainly in that opening 45 minutes. I think disappointing from a Rovers perspective, given what they produced in the 3 previous games. You know, we know that there's been mistakes this season, but for 3 to come so quickly at once and that lack of sort of energy among the entire side in that opening 45 minutes, yeah, disappointing. But as I say, a decent one to bounce back from.
Yeah. Now, in recent weeks, Rovers have been on the lookout for a newly created role, which is the head of football operations. They've got their man, and it's a familiar face. And here's an exclusive first airing of a chat with James Coppinger on his new role. James, congratulations on your appointment as head of football operations at Doncaster Rovers Football Club. How excited are you by the challenge ahead?
Yeah, really excited. I think, it's a big challenge. It's something that I'm really looking forward to. Something that I've been working towards probably since I turned 35, 36. I've never done any of my coaching badges. It's not something that sort of appealed to me, whereas, this sort of role, I feel like best suits my skills, my skill set. 24 years as a professional footballer across all levels, I feel like this role is massive within a football club.
And it's something that the club have spoken about behind the scenes, sort of been in the pipeline for a little while now. How did it, specifically here, come about from your perspective? Yeah,
I think, like you say, 35, 36, when from a playing perspective, you're looking to retire. I got my pension at 35. For me, I've been planning for my future, like you say, around that time. So, been more aware of what it takes, what it looks like behind the scenes, working with people at the football club in that capacity, managers, coaches, agents, heads of recruitment, all the relevant people. Quite quietly, if you like. What people see is James Coppinger, the footballer, but I've been working in business for the last 5 years, setting my own business. So I've been doing things that have almost propelled me to this position, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I suppose the most obvious question is then, why did you want the role? I
think, been in football for 24 years, I think there's more than just what you see on a Saturday. It's ultimately about putting all the right things in the right places to make sure that you perform. I say it all the time, I've been part of arguably the best culture, the best identity that this club's ever had. And also I've been part of some bad ones as well. So I believe that, when that was going on, after the events, I was able to identify and understand why they were successful and why they weren't successful. And it wasn't just, get the best players in. There's so much more to that, and it's like I said, it's every department, making sure that everybody's aligned, the values are there, and everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet. And that's a big thing for me.
Over the past 12 months in particular, in terms of what you said about sort of behind the scenes and you being around the place but not being a player, convinced you that you're the right man for the job?
Yeah, I think I've always had that skill set. I genuinely believe that, I'm a good communicator. I've had 10 months not having any responsibility and any accountability, and I don't like it. I'm not one of these people that shirks responsibility and hides. I want to be tested. I want to be taken out of my comfort zone. Yeah, I've never been handed anything by anybody, especially at this football club. I've always, I believe, warranted contracts. I've always led by example, and I've always tried to grow and improve as a person. And this role will take on that responsibility. I'll try and do that to the best of my ability. And I have a vision. I want to be the best, and I want to make this club the best it can be.
Some people may point to a lack of experience, particularly as you said that people see you as James Coppinger, the footballer. But as you touched on there, you feel that your skills and qualities can counteract that.
I believe so. I think it's understandable. People see me, 17 years as a player, what I did for this football club. And again, I've never been handed anything. I've worked hard for it, and this is no different. I've been invited into the ASD, so the Association of Sporting Directors, early this year, where arguably 300-400 people across the country in this role I'll be able to tap into. I'm working through my qualifications. I've spoke to some good people working in different countries in this role, and I'll make it the best it can be. And I know for a fact that's how I work, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really excited about it because, again, I've been in positions like relegations, promotions. I've seen the ups and downs, and I believe I know what it takes.
What would you say to some supporters who may have wanted a fresh pair of eyes coming in, somebody who's come completely new to it from the outside? How would you sort of respond to that?
Yeah, again, that's understandable. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I believe that, again, not just what I've just said. I think I know how the club works. I know how important this football club is to the community, to everybody surrounded by the club, in Doncaster. And ultimately it's about putting out a football team that represents the town. Again, I've been part of that. So having somebody come in with a fresh pair of eyes can be a positive, but it can also be a negative. So I think there's two ways of looking at it. I don't think there's any sort of right or wrong, but from my perspective, I genuinely feel like I know what needs to happen to make this a success.
You touched on briefly, obviously, the FA Technical Director's course and getting involved in that and meeting different people in your role at other clubs. How will that help you in tapping into that knowledge? And of course, there's, as you said, no right or wrong way. Not every club gets it right 100% of the time. So how will that help you, sort of in the early days in particular?
No, I think that's massive. I think modelling excellence, so understanding what works, what doesn't. A lot of these people are going through it or have been through it. This role is quite a unique role, and it's still, I would say, in its infancy. So again, there's not many people know what this role consists of. You've got Dan Ashworth, Stuart Webber at Norwich, who I speak to quite a lot. I've been down to Norwich. Lee Bromby at Huddersfield, who are doing really good things that I've spoke to. So it's becoming more, or people are becoming more aware of what this role looks like and how important it is within a football club. When you're relying just on the manager, it's really hard to then, when that doesn't work, to then change everything. So it's important to get some stability, that we're consistent in what we do, and I think throughout my career I've built up a solid reputation within football that I believe will stand me in good stead.
Yeah, yourself and Gavin, you touched on there, have been to Norwich, been to Huddersfield to sort of get a grasp for how they do things, and two clubs with obviously differing models but albeit successful. What were those sort of meetings like in, I suppose, opening everybody's eyes into what they're doing?
No, really good. I couldn't speak highly enough of both Norwich and Huddersfield in terms of letting us in, sharing their experiences, similar sort of clubs in, self-funding, looking at, again, learning from what they've done. I've been able to sort of speak to both of them and ask as many questions as possible and understand what it takes, what it looks like. It's not going to be plain sailing. We're not going to have it all our own way, and not everything's going to be a success. But again, I believe that my character, the things that I've experienced, the resilience that I've shown, in different roles, will put me in a good position to be able to take on all them responsibilities.
How do you see the role at present then? You're walking into, obviously, at the back end of what's been a disappointing season on the pitch. How do you see it at present?
No, there's no hiding place. The facts are that it hasn't been good enough. And I genuinely feel like it's an accumulation of a lot of things. It's not just one thing. I think we've been drowning all season, and we've not been able to get our head out of the water, if you like. A few times we've taken a few breaths, but unfortunately it's not been good enough, and there's been quite a lot of negative momentum surrounding the club on and off the pitch, and I believe that needs to stop. We need to slow that down, and we need to turn it into positive momentum. We need to start acting. People talk a lot. This interview, people can say, look, it's just words, but I genuinely feel that we need to start putting actions to them words, and not just on the pitch but off the pitch as well. And I feel like that's where we are. We have to park what's happened, although it's been tough. we have to park that. We can't affect that now. We can only look forward and look forward to the future. And again, there's a lot of good things happening here. There's a lot of good people, staff, players that want to do well for this football club.
It's probably been 15 months or so of results not going the right way from sort of March last year to the point we're at now. Do you feel that it is an accumulation of things? Is that the biggest issue you feel? It's not one thing that you can simply fix, it's an accumulation.
Yeah, I genuinely feel like momentum is huge in football, again, not just on the football pitch. And that's happened, like you say, for the last 15 months. It feels like both on and off the pitch, just when you think things are going to turn, and another thing happens, another disappointment, another setback, and before you know it, we are where we are. So again, I believe that putting this role in place is a huge starting place. It's a huge building block in terms of where we want to go, and then slowly, moving forward. And everybody's going to have to buy into it. Everybody's going to have to come with it. And it's not going to be easy because not everybody will want to. But ultimately, it's about staying together, focusing on where we want to go and what we want to do, and then again acting, delivering every single day. It's not about we can talk all we want, but it's about coming in every single day as a group, as a staff, as a club, and acting on it. Being consistent. The best culture, the best identity, the best manager I work for is Sean O'Driscoll, and the biggest compliment I could give him was he was consistent with everything that he did every single day, regardless of whether you liked it or not. There was consistent messages, and I believe that is like a huge sort of or the key to starting something special.
The role you're going to be in will link the board with the playing staff. How crucial is having that, given what's gone on and given how we want to react to what's happened?
I think football clubs are all different. I think being able to adapt and understand what works for this football club, again, it's a new role, it's a new position. I'm not coming into this all naive to think that I'm going to be able to do this and this, and I'm going to have the power to make all the decisions. But I genuinely feel working with the people that I know, I'll get the support, and they'll help me find a route or where this will go for positive outcomes. I think my knowledge, again, 24 years as a professional footballer, working my way through the Sunday League, then going into non-league, then coming back up, League One, League Two, the Championship, the Premier League. I believe that my experience, my knowledge, my understanding of how things work will help the people above me to make the best decisions.
There needs to be that trust in you as well, though, doesn't there, to have that freedom to maybe not everything you try is going to be right, if that makes sense. There's going to be little hurdles that you overcome and some that you think, okay, that's maybe an idea that hasn't paid off, but there needs to be that freedom to be able to try different things.
I think so. I don't think I'd take the job. So I don't think I would have gone for this role if I didn't think that was going to happen. Again, I'm not naive enough to think that I'm going to walk into it and I'm going to get everything that I want. But at the same time, there's going to be logic towards my decisions, my thought process. I'm going to try and present as much information as possible to back up what I think should be done. And then, it's then up to the people in charge to make the right decisions, and that's where I feel like, again, going back to it, that's where I feel like my skill set is suited for this role.
And I suppose when everybody's going off on the holidays, it's not that time for you, is it? You're sort of straight to work and getting on with things.
No, and again, like I prided myself on my work ethic, right from 21, 22 years old, when I started to realise that I was accountable for that I could make a difference, and I could take, again, not going too deep, but I could take my life whichever direction I wanted to. Like, I pride myself on my work ethic and making sure that if I'm accountable for something, then I do my best and make sure that no one could turn around and say, well, he wasn't doing this or he wasn't doing that and he didn't do this. It'll be the same in this role. I'll give it everything that I've got with the support of everybody else, and make it work.
And is the key, whatever happens, to make the Rovers fans who are turning up here week after week proud of the team again, knowing that every player on that pitch is a Doncaster Rovers player because they know what it means to be just that.
100%, and you know, I understand people's frustrations because I'm in the same boat. You know, I'm a fan. I've been with the club for 18 years, and there's definitely been a disconnect from the players and the supporters and the staff, and you know, COVID's played a huge part in that. But I want to get that back. You know, this club is and means so much to people. You know, I was invited to a funeral, and to stand outside the Eco Power and pay my respects to somebody recently, and they did a lap of the Eco Power, and you know, we paid our respects, and every single car stopped in front of me, and it genuinely shows how much this club means to people. Like, you know, I've experienced it with my granddad with Middlesbrough. You know, 60 years he was a supporter, and we would go into the lounge, and so having that connection with the players and the fans, especially at a football club like this, is one of the most important things. And you know, that is one of my main objectives, responsibilities, and I'm really looking forward to getting that back.
Liam, a new role for James Coppinger, one that he's talked very enthusiastically about to both of us and in the media as well, and you can see how much it means to him to be able to get his teeth into a new challenge and be able to maybe put the wrongs right at the football club at present. Yeah,
he's been here for an awful long time, and as he touched upon in that interview, he's been here through some fantastic times when this club were at its best, certainly in the modern era, and he's been through some difficult times as well as this last season among those. So he does know this club inside and out. He does know what it takes for this to get this club sort of firing on all cylinders, and he does know what mistakes have been made over the years that have put them in a situation like they find themselves in now. So it is well placed. It really is. I know there's been conversations about whether he's got that experience, whether there could have been somebody who could have took the role on and, you know, who'd done it elsewhere, but you couldn't find anybody who knows this club like James Coppinger. And as you've touched upon there, we've had conversations with him before this role were even created, and also in recent weeks as Rovers have been on the lookout. And you know, he's got some very good ideas. He's very passionate. He's strong-willed as well. So in many ways he ticks an awful lot of boxes for this role. And one of the key messages he put across during the interview with him, that he knows what a Doncaster Rovers player should look like, and he knows exactly when coming into the football club what attributes they need, both on the pitch and off it as well, how they carry themselves around the place. Yeah, certainly, and that's a big part of you know, there's been an awful lot of talk about identity at this club and everything, and I think you can get too focused on what that means in terms of playing style and how the team operate, but that identity goes way beyond that, as James has touched on, and that's a big thing for him, and it is how players operate on and off the pitch, you know, what sort of characters that they've got, and that's a big thing, and that's how you begin to craft a positive environment, as well as then hopefully it results on the pitch as well. So as we mentioned earlier on, it's been a difficult season for everyone involved at the football club. We've got a bit of a lighter treat for you now. As always, on the last show of the campaign, we like to look back at the best bits and the not so best bits from the show this season. Enjoy. Hello, welcome back. It's good to have you with us to share the excitement of a new league campaign on getting... Liam, how are you feeling after a busy couple of weeks? It has been busy. This season was supposed to be a bit quieter, but it's been relentless.
And the fans can see how much Richie wants to do well. Obviously, you know, loved him as a player in a couple of spells here. And
we give them a manager time to grow and time to develop. What am I doing? It's because victims of our own success. Victims of our own success.
Liam, as the heavens begin to open on us a little bit here at the Keep Mode.
It's been a couple of years since Cameron John was introduced to pineapple on pizza. Take a look here, as there have been a few developments for the Rovers defender.
Pineapple pizza! Again, it just shows how great this squad are at interacting with the community as a whole.
Chew Ellens is looking forward now to having some different ammunition going forward. Ammunition.
Quite up to the press box.
Yeah, 100%. Lads, same again next week, yeah?
But since we set up the women's supporters group, I know so many women who support Rovers who've been going all their lives or have just started going, and it's really nice to see that people are supporting it too.
From the women's supporters group to discuss all the activities. As part of that, I sat down with from the Women's Supporters Group to discuss all the goings on match day.
Oh my God.
The theme for Rovers' third shirt this season is mental health struggles aren't always visible. And
The message, you know, it's just as strong.
your mate Brandon's got a couple of goals under his belt as well the last 2 games.
I don't think I've celebrated a goal like it, obviously his first one of the day ever. Obviously buzzing.
On the show, joining me, Gary McSheffrey.
I just hope the experience that Gas and Frank and the management team has got, that will rub off on the players.
This place will have a new name. It's fair to say there's certainly been plenty of memorable moments with the naming rights change and Eco Power Group taking over the naming rights themselves. Here's Chief Commercial. It's not easy.
It is a bit of a tongue twister, that.
The naming rights to this place. He's
I've done him!
His Chief Commercial Officer John Warburton on what the deal represents for the club. You know,
Very good, very professional.
people shouldn't now be surprised if they see cops walking his sheep through Doncaster. What an honour it was for him, though.
But to be honoured for the impact that you've made on a town, on a borough like Doncaster, you know, that don't come around very often and don't come around for many people.
Ollie, you got the cut on the head early on.
I'm not bothered about it. If anything, it's probably a good thing. I mean, it makes you want to show if you're a bit more hard, if you get what I mean. So
Jonathan Mitchell made a bit of a hero of himself in saving from Bannon.
Yeah, I turned my back for the Jonathan Mitchell one because I didn't want to see if they scored, to be honest.
Liam, now you're in as media manager of Club Doncaster.
You know, this club, you know, taking it to my heart over the last sort of decade or so, covering it.
I don't want to steal Liam's thunder, but I do think 2-1 Rovers.
Performances against Wigan and not Fleetwood. Oh.
First one ever. Hello. Are you going to ask me to do that again, or is that all right? So, do that. Can't even remember what I said. Liam, it's been a great privilege to present the show alongside yourself this season. We've had plenty of guests on, whether it's been players, staff, people in the community, inside the club, outside the club, members of the Women's Supporters Group as well. We've certainly produced what you'd like to think is value for money this season.
I certainly think so. You know, obviously we the main business is talking about what goes on the pitch, but it's fantastic to be able to highlight the good work that goes on at this club, the good work that goes on in the community that's associated with this club as well, and it is great to talk to people, to see Rio Griffiths in his normal dress wear. It was an interesting one as well, but yeah, no, I've had a great time doing this, but both in my previous role and in the role that I've got now.
Looking ahead to the weekend then, Burton Albion, and we know the predicament Rovers find themselves in. It would be a minor miracle now to stay up, but the fact is they've just got to keep going, haven't they? And in football anything can happen. If you do your job, it's about them waiting to see what happens elsewhere.
That's all they can do. There's 2 games left. You know, they need 2 wins as the minimum. There's an awful lot, as you say, that's got to go their way for them to survive. But to finish a season that's been disappointing, it's been frustrating along the way as well. To finish it with 2 wins and 2 big performances. Rovers could have easily thrown the towel in at half-time last week. You know, the reaction, and I thought the travelling support at Shrewsbury were great, and particularly at the end. You know, you saw what that comeback meant, even in the full circumstances of the result itself. So I think they can send people into the summer with, you know, there'll be disappointment, there'll be frustration, but if they can get string a couple of good performances and good results hopefully together, regardless of what happens elsewhere, you know, it can send people into the summer with a bit of heart about what's to come in the next season.
And if there are a couple of results, it puts the players in good shape of mind. Rovers have got, 16 players, if not more, contracted for next season. Rio Griffiths back on the score sheet on Monday, and if he can bag another couple, it just gives him that momentum headed into a first real pre-season in men's football in England.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've seen Adam Clayton, he's got up to speed, you know, and his form's been very good. So you'll want to end the season strongly. Rio Griffiths, as you said, you know, it's been difficult for him, you know, having not played an awful lot of football. He's finally looking like he's approaching full speed. They want to enter the summer with positivity as well and look to kick on next season.
Go on then, how do you see it going? Is it the Old Faithful?
Old Faithful. I've got to roll it out one more time, and I'll go for 2-1.
Liam, thank you for your company, not only tonight but in the season as all. A big thank you to Darren behind the camera as well, works tirelessly every other week to put on a brilliant show for everyone. Of course, lastly, you fans at home, you've stuck by us at the club all season long. Get down here one final time at the Eco Power this weekend. It's the final home game of the season as Rovers take on Burton Albion.